TradeMonster.com, 4.5 stars, best online broker, 2 years running according to Barron's. TradeMonster.com.
Hello and welcome to the CMZ. I'm DrJ from TradeMonster.com, and we're shooting for the CMZ at the CME, the world's busiest futures exchange right here in Chicago. We've got a pretty harsh sell-off, folks, but you wouldn't necessarily know it by the sounds you're hearing behind me right now. In other words, yes, it's busy, that's a good sign, but it's not a frenzied pace at all. The Dow Jones Industrials are down some 300 points. S&P's looks like we're seeing a decline of about 28 points, but there's not that frenzied turnover, that fear that would normally be associated with such a steep drop. Now, I'll also point out for you that the VIX, which of course VIX is the S&P 500 implied volatility, the spot where it is right now, just got back over 35. That's a far cry from the highs that we saw in August when we hit 48. So in other words, 13 points from those highs, and we're at least so far today not threatening to take over 40 even. So with the futures as well, since this is a futures exchange, the CMZ, with the futures, they're pretty flat. They're basically right around between 34.5 and 35, with the spot at 35. So we've got neither contango or backwardation going on right now today, and that is a little bit of a head scratcher, because it's telling us, I guess, that there's not that fear factor that there was, not nearly the same as what the some of the talking heads might be telling us right now on television, because clearly when they see a triple-digit 300-point drop in the Dow, people are generally screaming on television about Armageddon. Oh my God, the sky's falling. Sky isn't falling, but it's steadily worth less as the day has progressed. That's the way we've addressed it so far today. Looks like we've got the crude oil contract down about $1.50. That, of course, trades here at the sister exchange, the NYMEX, which is owned by CME Group. Looks like Brent also down, and the overseas markets, which will be closing in the next hour, are showing some fairly significant losses of about 2.5%, right where we are, in fact, at this point right here today. Now, Friday, when we were at a similar point, when we were down pretty hard Thursday and down on Friday, we kept creeping back to the upside. One of our friends pinged me and said, "John, this is where the bulls have to make their stand." And I said, "Not so much. What about the bears?" The bears, despite having the perfect storm, folks, of push as far as bad news, super committee, bad news coming out of Europe, we're not seeing the bears being able to press their case either. And in fact, the S&P 500 right around the 1188 mark is pretty much where it was just weeks ago as well. I mean, we're just bouncing between that 1180 level and basically 1240 back and forth. Sell the rips to the upside and buy in the dips to the downside. Now, as far as other activity that we're going to be focused in on today, clearly people are upset about the super committee and the lack of any movement there. There will be automatic triggers for about $1.2 trillion, almost $500 billion of that coming from defense, but that's priced in, folks, as far as most of us not thinking that they would meet some sort of deadline that was set and coming up right upon us November 23rd, Wednesday of this week. The super committee was not expected by most of these traders behind us to have passed that, and therefore the defense cuts, people have already looked at that in two views. One, those cuts don't happen until 2012. I'm sorry, until 2013. So in other words, a full year out into the future. And two, many of those defense stocks, people have been paring back, and of total defense spend, $500 billion, folks, is just a little over 5%. So it's not like just slashing and burning on that defense budget. I'm DrJ from TradeMonster.com. Before you commit your cash to any trade, make sure you understand the risks, folks. If you're trading futures here at the CME, world's busiest futures exchange, or if you're trading securities, knowing a little bit more about how to compartmentalize your risk by putting on an option spread or a futures spread might be one of the best things you could do at this point. I'm DrJ from TradeMonster.com.
Every day I'm shuffling.